What makes you keep going back? You were shot in the shoulder in the West Bank in 2002. Why do you keep going back to war zones?
You know, not to be flip, but it's kind of pretty much the only thing I know how to do, not cover conflict. I actually don't like covering conflict. I think you have to cover conflict when it's part of what you do cover, and I do cover the Arab world. You know, I've been covering it for 15 years. I think now finally is the moment that we see that is transformative in the Arab world, and it does make you even more, I think, eager in some ways to cover it, to try to bring meaning to it, to witness it. And it matters, I guess. I think at each time you make these decisions, say in Baghdad in 2003 and Lebanon in 2006, you know, as you pointed out in Ramallah in 2002, you think that if you're not there, the story won't be told. And that, you know, that might be a little bit arrogant or conceited. It's absolutely it's the only way to bring altruism to the story, that it's not just about ambition, that you're trying to do something that's, you know, that's meaningful. You know, I hope that's the case. It's probably a mix of all of them together, but you do want to, you know, I think especially people who've been covering this for a long time and who have a sense of the place, you know, I think those people, you know, want to have a role at least in how these stories, how these conflicts, how these uprisings are covered.
By the way, who were you shot by in 2002?
You know, there was the investigation was never. Well, the Israelis did the investigation and said they couldn't determine. In my mind, there was no one who could have shot me except for an Israeli soldier.
Have you seen your colleagues since your release by your Libyan captors, and how are they doing right now, particularly Lindsay?
We were in New York together for a few days, and I think everyone is taking a break, including Lindsay. I think Lindsay's planning on spending much of the month in New York. I think Tyler was having the same sense, and then Steve and I will probably go back to the region since our homes are, pardon me, I think Steve and I will go back to the region since our homes are in the region. So we'll probably head back there in a couple weeks or so.
Well, Anthony Shadid, thanks so much for spending this time, and please be safe. That was New York Times Beirut Bureau Chief Anthony Shadid, two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He's one of 4 New York Times reporters who were kidnapped together and beaten by Gaddafi forces in Libya. They were released 2 weeks ago. For a copy of today's show,